Hey, we're continuing a series that we've been working through called "What Is It Like to Be a Pastor?" And the idea is that we want people to be interested in ministry, and we care about young people being called into ministry and all sorts of things. And part of it is its attention, because we do believe that ministry is a calling, and stuff. But sometimes you have to kind of understand even what ministry is like in order to even realize or take interest in it, or to even realize you might be called to it. And so it is a bit of a tension, because we don't want to just be like, yeah, anybody who wants to sign up to be in ministry, you should do that. But we do want to try to give people a picture of what it is like to be in ministry, and to use this as an opportunity for people to maybe this strikes a chord. And so today, I'm so excited about this, Sadie. Today we're talking about preaching, and honestly, like just day in and day out, I don't know anything that's more interesting to me or something I'm more passionate about than preaching. And so I'm super excited to talk about this today.
Yeah.
It'll be fun.
Well, I just want to know, what does your sermon prep process look like? Because I think we all do it a little differently.
Yeah.
So what's yours look like?
So it's changed, because now that I'm preaching, 35, 40 times a year, Sundays come every 7 days, don't they?
Yes, yes, they do.
And so it has changed a bit.
Yep.
I've had to tweak it, but I mean, a lot of it, and it sounds super cliche to say this, but it would be very irresponsible to not even mention it. But so much of it just begins with prayer, right? And begins with like, what is it that God would want us to say? And so assuming that we know what we're preaching for, like a sermon series, because that's part of it, is like, well, is it going to be a standalone sermon or a single sermon, or is it part of a series? Can we just assume that we know it's already part of a series?
Yes.
Okay. Like a sermon has to begin with a passage that stirs our souls, right? Like if you start having a bunch of ideas and try to fit passages around your ideas, that's called eisegesis, right? And it'd be EISEGESIS.
Good spelling.
Thank you. As opposed to exegesis. It's not actually JESUS, Jesus. But eisegesis is where you put meaning into the text as opposed to getting meaning out of the text, right?
Yes.
So we have to be very cautious when we do our Bible study that we get meaning out of the text instead of putting meaning into the text. And so let's say that we've already got a passage. A lot of it is sitting there and trying to reflect on what it is that God is speaking to us before we go to anything outside. Like, what is it that God might be saying to us? Because if we start going to outside sources right away, like from the beginning, commentaries or word studies or, different like Bible atlases or whatever, it could cloud what it is that God might be speaking to us about and how we want to go into the text and say from the text. But so you sit with it and you reflect on it a lot. I print off. I go to like BibleGateway.com and just print off the text and just tons of notes, handwritten notes. I'm like a tactile person, and so that's helpful for me.
Yeah.
But once we do that, a lot of it is just commentaries, right? Like, it's just absorbing as much as you can. What are your go-to commentaries for you, just for what it's worth? Because I have some go-to ones that I love.
So I have like 2 series of like commentaries that I really like.
Yeah.
So I like the Anchor Bible a lot, and I like the Word Bible.
The Word Biblical commentary?
Yeah. So those are the 2 like brands of commentaries that I like. And then I have 2 big commentaries that are like, one is all of the Old Testament and one is all of the New Testament. I think it's IVP.
Yeah, is it IVP, Bible Background Commentary?
Maybe.
Yeah. I've got the older version
Yeah.
of the one that you have. I've seen it in your office.
Yeah. So those two.
Mine's old. I'm just so much older. Yeah. Mine's first printing edition. It's the Gutenberg. It's the Gutenberg edition.
I still like how you came to me that time. You're like, do you know what all these asterisks mean?
Yeah, it's true. I was like, I can't figure it out. And you figured it out in 30 seconds.
Well, I mean, they're in the back of the book.
Yeah, I forgot.
To be fair.
I just didn't assume there was an index or a glossary for all of the asterisks that were in there. Yeah, it was. I appreciated your answer. It had perplexed me for 2 decades probably.
Well, hey.
I'm like, hey, you have that book. What are What are all the asterisks in there? And what was it? I don't even remember now.
To be fair, like it literally was like just words or phrases that they didn't want to explain every time they used them.
Oh, so they were
And so
explaining
they're
in
in
the
the
back.
back.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Word Biblical Commentary is probably my favorite deep dive commentary.
Yeah.
And the part of the reason why I like it is it goes verse by verse expositionally through the text and gives a really, really, really good cultural historical analysis on the text that
Yeah.
you wouldn't just get from reading the Bible. Like, and
Yeah.
then you wouldn't get from footnotes or, some sort of a study Bible. I mean, pages sometimes on one verse. And so that's really helpful. And I like how it talks about basic form and setting and all that. But then it gives the transliterated versions of
Can you
each
explain what that means?
text. Yeah. So like the Bible was written in Hebrew and Greek. And so it transliterates literally to like how does that translate to our English? And what does it actually mean? And what is it getting at? And so there's all like we have 3 tenses in English. Well, there's like 17 tenses in Greek, I think. I think it's 17. There's so many.
Okay.
So a lot of it is just like trying to figure out what is the original text actually saying.
Okay.
Is kind of the idea. So
Okay. Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, that's
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you
Yeah. I
are you
really like.
questioning this?
No,
The way you were, I was like, is she not? Am I not correct?
Okay, no,
yeah.
Okay, to be fair, I taught English as one of my in-between jobs. And so
yeah.
you said we have 3 tenses.
Yeah, what are we? I mean, we have basically.
Well, we have more than that.
Essentially past, present, future, right?
Yeah, we have past, present, future, but then we have like progressive versus like we have. So
Yeah, okay.
in my head, I was like,
Yeah. No, that's fair.
it took me a second. I was like, we have more than 3, and I was like, okay, he just meant past, future, and present. Okay, yeah, like
Yeah.
my brain had to like auto go there.
Yeah.
Had autocorrect.
Yeah,
myself.
like Greek has like the aorist tense
Yeah.
and the prone tense,
Yeah.
and in the Hebrew you have like the hiffle tense and like all sorts
Hiffle?
of the hiffle.
Hiffle.
You got to say it like that. The hiffle. Tense.
I did. I know I can picture the spelling. I did
Yeah.
not know that that's what that word sounded like.
Well, maybe it doesn't. I don't know. Don't take our word for it.
Hiffle.
BuzzFeed beat us today, so
Hiffle sounds like Hufflepuff.
yeah. That's a Harry Potter reference, isn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah.
It's a whole thing. Anyway.
Sorcery. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So all this to say, I go to the commentaries and I just dig deep into the commentaries. But at some point, you have to take pages of information and you have to make it make sense, right? So like right now, I've got probably 8 pages of notes for my sermon for this coming Sunday. And I need to prune down so it's less than 2 pages.
Yeah.
So a lot of what you do is you do more study than you need and then start pruning away. Like we often say the best sermons are the ones that have hit the delete button, right? Because otherwise you're going to say too much.
Yeah.
So one of the most important things to get to is like, what is the one sentence you want to say that will connect with people that they're going to remember? So some people call it a sticky statement or a big idea or a controlling idea, whatever it is. But if you can't, the idea of that is if you can't say what you want to say in a sermon in one sentence, then it's not clear to you. And if it's not clear to you, then it's not going to be clear to a listener.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's fair.
So like this weekend, this past weekend, like we're filming this right after the first weekend of the bridge building series. And I was talking about Andrew, there's no Andrew that I was talking about, Simon, the zealot, and Matthew, the tax collector. And the statement that I was building toward the entire sermon was this statement. And it was, we're just a bunch of zealots and tax collectors trying to figure out what it means to follow Jesus. Like that was what I wanted people to remember. And like, it's sticky enough that it's like what I'm remembering right now, but we're just a bunch of zealots and tax collectors trying to figure out what it means to follow Jesus. So if you can't say it in that succinct a way, it's not clear to you, and it's definitely not going to be clear to your listener. How do you prune down to get to like one sentence? Because that's the hardest part.
It is hard. I think I tend to be verbose. When I come up, because I like in my head, the way that I think is I have all of these thoughts just like almost visually in a cloud above my head out in front of me. It's like they're all up here and I am just trying to pick and pull them down into what's right in front of me. And so trying to figure out how to word that is hard for me.
Yeah.
And I am such a word person. Like, my parents laugh at me because I'm very literal. And I deeply, deeply care about the words that I choose.
Yeah.
And sometimes, here's the part that drives my family crazy. Sometimes I'm like hyper literal. I'm like, this is exactly what this word means. Forget the context of how people use it, but this is what this word means. And then that is not always the most productive way to do it.
But you can get stuck on that for pages.
Yeah, but then sometimes I'm the opposite. I'm like, okay, this word would be good, but like everyone else will understand it this way, and that's not what I mean. So like I'm trying to, I honestly, it is the grace of God that I willow it down to one word. And willow, why did I just say whittle? I meant to say whittle.
Yeah,
like, you know, with wood.
You were thinking of the movie, that weird movie with Willow. You ever seen Willow?
No.
It's a weird movie reference.
Okay.
Jason, you know Willow? Yeah, you do. Willow is strange.
Hey, I meant whittle, like wood, like you whittle
that
it
makes sense.
down. But I said willow, so I guess it's still wood related.
We often talk about sermons that it's like art. It's because the process for sermon prep is not. It's not science.
No.
It's more art than it is science.
Yes.
And so, in that sense, sometimes the process is very much like a struggling artist, where there are days where the artist makes a ton of progress and the artist can see where the painting is going.
Yeah.
But then there are days or days, literally days, multiple days where it feels like slog and you're like, I can't see the painting. I can't see what's coming. And the best ones are actually the slog, because you sit there and wrestle with it and chew on it, and you don't carry all of your assumptions and all these things that you want to bring to the text.
Yeah.
And so, but it is an incredibly relentless process trying to figure that out.